How hardcore is the maintenance in Pakistan? Even the damaged wrench needs to be repaired. The ordinary adjustable wrench in front of me has a broken tooth on the front, which makes the width of the pipe mouth unable to be adjusted. It is impossible to scrap it in Pakistan. Fu plans to make one directly with steel plate. After having a clear repair plan, Fu first fixes it on the window claw plate and uses a lathe to process the cutting surface flat to ensure that the subsequent measurement can be more accurate. After processing the 4 cutting surfaces, considering that the show's skills affect the beauty of the bow and arrow, Fu also needs to use the lathe to further cut the steel plate surface to restore the original glossiness. After a simple pre-treatment of the plate surface, the next step is to compare the aggravated shape of the front mouth and trace the same size on the steel plate surface. Although the master's tracing technique is slightly rough, it will not affect the subsequent processing operation at all. Because their repair shop does not have a professional bed washing machine, they can only use the lathe to cut a little bit. The first step is to completely cut and remove the scraps outside the marking line, because the lathe can only process a plane. At the background angle of the front mouth, master will swap the position of the claw plate and the turning tool. Control the movement of the steel plate well. Although their equipment is simple, this processing is a piece of cake for the 8-level front bow. Compared with the usual cases, the first repair is undoubtedly the most difficult, which is why it costs 3,000 rupees. With the master's precise control of the movement of the tool holder, the steel plate quickly showed its prototype. Although the cutting surface of the edge is very rough, as long as there is no big error with the original factory, it can be adjusted through fine processing. In order to avoid over-processing, master will use the angle paper to mark again. The width that needs to be processed again after recording is compared again. This is the rigorous attitude of the Pakistani master. After confirming that there is no mistake, the turning tool is rotated again to make the end face smoother as much as possible. After the outer diameter of the steel plate meets the use requirements, there are also grooves for the original tooth slide rails. So the master will fix the electric drill on the lathe so that when the knife is installed in the front, the lathe can be used as a washing bed. Although the speed of this electric drill is not particularly high, but the disinfection effect is very good. After half an hour of processing on the lathe, it is now completely consistent with the original factory. To realize the function of movement, it is necessary to process the transmission slot at the bottom. Under the premise of no gear hobbing machine, Fu fixed the elastic feeling on the claw plate. As the claw plate rotates, it will drive the turning tool to process the slot of the front furniture. After the bottom teeth are processed to the standard, it has met the use requirements. There is no difference in the width of the former, because long-term use has caused serious wear of the transmission worm rod. In order to avoid the front mouth of the bacteria and jam, a new one is prepared to be reproduced with a round rod. After the surface is processed flat with a turning tool, the outer diameter of the rod is exactly the same as the worm rod. Because the surface of the worm rod also has anti-slip patterns, in order to increase the friction of the worm rod, the rod's surface must first use a rolling tool to process a consistent anti-slip pattern on the surface, increasing the transmission efficiency of the worm rod. For the tooth slot on the worm rod, the same cutting method as the thread is required to process the thread, teeth of the same width, under the condition of controlling the speed of the tool holder and the knife. This kind of processing is relatively simple. After the depth of the groove is consistent with the round field, the handle needs to be fixed on the wrench with a line pin. The axis needs to be drilled with a drill. The drill can completely penetrate the handle. The extended drill bit is used for 5 minutes. In order to make the processed handle length completely consistent, it is necessary to measure again with cardboard. This determines the cutting position of the slot cutter. After the processing of the handle is completed, the edge of the front mouth will affect the movement. In order to prevent the teeth from not being completely stuck in the inside of the handle, an angle grinder is needed to grind out a gap. The tooth contact surface can make the worm shaft rotate more smoothly without jamming. After the teeth are adjusted, there are still many hairs in the groove for cleaning. For sharp parts such as the edge, an angle grinder can only be used to make it more rounded. After the simple grinding is completed, it now meets the use requirements and can be assembled next. The front mouth is fixed with the worm shaft and is pressed by this line pin. In a simple, this damage is really too great.